For years we've heard the phrase next-gen open world. Every console generation promises it. Bigger maps, better graphics, more NPCs, more systems, more realism. And yet, somehow, most open worlds still feel like the upgraded versions of games we've been playing since 2015. Even today's biggest titles, visually stunning as they are, often rely on familiar structures like waypoint chasing, checklist exploration, or repeated activities stretched across massive landscapes. But then comes Crimson Desert, a game that isn't just promising scale or fidelity, but a complete rethink of how an open world behaves, reacts, and exists moment to moment. Developed by Pearl Abyss, the studio behind an MMO famous for technical ambition, this project is positioned not as another sandbox, but as a fully authored single-player experience with a defined beginning and end. And that raises a massive question. Is Crimson Desert simply another beautiful open world, or could it actually be the first true next-gen open world? Let's find out. The open world problem nobody talks about. Modern open worlds are paradoxical. They are larger than ever, more expensive than ever, and technically more impressive than ever. Yet many players feel increasingly disconnected from them. Because the problem is that the industry solved scale years ago, but it never solved meaning. Throughout the late 2010s and early 2020s, open world standardized into a formula. Towers reveal maps, icons flood the UI, activities repeat in minor variations, and exploration becomes optimized rather than discovered. And the result? Players stopped asking what's over that hill and started asking how many objectives remain. The issue isn't laziness, it's production reality. When worlds grow massive, developers rely on repeatable systems to fill space, but repetition erodes surprise, and surprise is the heart of discovery. And the result is worlds that are technically alive but emotionally predictable. But Crimson Desert appears to challenge that assumption directly. Instead of building an endless life service environment, Pearl Abyss chose a single-player structure with narrative closure, something increasingly rare in modern open worlds. This signals a philosophical shift that the world exists to serve an experience, not infinite engagement matrices. If true, that alone could mark a generational design change, because next gen may not mean bigger worlds, but more intentional ones. Technology that actually changes gameplay. What makes Crimson Desert stand out technically isn't just visuals, it's the Black Space engine. Pearl Abyss is proprietary technology built specifically for systematic interaction rather than static environments. The engine enables advanced simulations like dynamic weather, atmospheric scattering, fluid simulation, cloth physics, and real-time environmental reactions that affect gameplay rather than existing purely as a visual decoration. The objects react differently depending on force, enemies collide physically with environments, and combat interactions are driven by physics rather than scripted animations. This matters because traditional open worlds often fake interactivity. Buildings look destructible but aren't. NPC routines appear dynamic but follow rigid scripts. Crimson Desert aims to blur that illusion by allowing systems to interact continuously across the world space. Moreover, the scale is also ambitious. Early previews described the continent of Peville as enormous, reportedly larger than worlds like Skyrim or Red Dead Redemption 2, yet designed as a seamless environment encouraging organic exploration. But unlike earlier bigger map marketings, the emphasis here is on density and simulation fidelity. Because true next-gen isn't resolution or ray tracing, it's when the world stops feeling staged and starts feeling responsive. Crimson Desert may be one of the first games attempting that at a full AAA scale. A single-player open world in a live service era. Perhaps the boldest decision Pearl Abyss made wasn't technological, it was philosophical. Despite coming from a studio known for MMO monetization, Crimson Desert launches as a premium buy-once experience with no microtransactions. The developers explicitly described the game as a complete product where the transaction is the experience itself. That decision directly opposes one of the dominant trends shaping open worlds today, perpetual engagement systems. Many modern games are designed to retain players indefinitely through seasons and recurring updates. But Crimson Desert instead embraces finality, a story with an ending. The narrative follows Cliff, a mercenary trying to reunite his scattered companions after a devastating ambush, grounding the world in personal stakes rather than abstract player progression. This narrative anchoring changes how exploration feels. You aren't wandering endlessly, you're moving through a living story space. Ironically, this might be what makes the game feel next-gen. By rejecting infinite design loops, it restores pacing, consequence, and narrative momentum, elements many open worlds lost while chasing longevity matrices. Systems over spectacle. The combat in Crimson Desert reflects the same hybrid philosophy. Developers clarified that the game is not a Souls-like, even though boss encounters can be challenging. Instead, players can approach difficulty through preparation, exploration, and gear progression rather than strict mechanical mastery. The combat system blends cinematic action with systemic interaction, including horseback combat, large-scale battles, environmental physics, and varied playstyles. Players can also weaken challenges indirectly through word interaction, reinforcing the idea that exploration itself is gameplay progression. Beyond combat, everyday activities including crafting, fishing, hunting, and social interaction are integrated into the world simulation rather than existing as detached minigames. These systems aim to make the world feel inhabited instead of gamified. Furthermore, customization also extends to characters and mounts, including visual customization systems tied to inward crafting rather than external monetization. This reinforces immersion by keeping progression inside the game's ecosystem. If successful, this could represent a shift from open worlds as content containers towards open worlds as emergent simulations. Why it might still fail. Ambition is also Crimson Desert's greatest risk. The game attempts to merge cinematic storytelling, systemic simulation, large-scale combat, exploration freedom, and technical innovation into one cohesive experience. Historically, projects attempting this level of integration struggle with balance, leading to systems competing rather than complementing each other. There are also questions about narrative flexibility. Developers have suggested morality choices exist but within limits, meaning players cannot fully roleplay radically different character paths. And for some players expecting deep RPG freedom, this could feel restrictive. Furthermore, optimization is another unknown. Massive systemic worlds historically face performance challenges at launch, and expectations for a next-gen experience raise the technical bar even higher. And finally, expectations themselves may be the biggest danger. When a game is framed as revolutionary, players don't judge it as good, they judge it against the future it promised. What next gen actually means. Maybe the real reason Crimson Desert feels different is timing. For over a decade, graphical leaps defined new console generations, but visual realism has begun to plateau. Players no longer feel generational change through graphics alone, they feel it through interaction, immersion, and systemic depth. Because next-gen design might mean worlds reacting intelligently instead of simply looking realistic. It might mean fewer icons and more curiosity, less infinite progression and more meaningful journeys, and Crimson Desert appears to be built around that philosophy. Simulation over spectacle, immersion over monetization, author storytelling inside systemic freedom. But whether it succeeds or not, it signals a shift in industry ambition, away from bigger checklists toward deeper worlds. And that shift may be the real next-gen. Is Crimson Desert the first true next-gen open world? Maybe. Not because it's bigger, not because it looks better, but because it tries to rethink why open worlds exist in the first place. If its systems truly interact, if its world feels alive rather than populated, and if its narrative gives exploration meaning, it could redefine expectations for the genre. But until we step into Pavel ourselves, it remains a promise. And gaming history has taught us one thing: the next generation isn't declared, it's felt. If Crimson Desert delivers on even half its ambition, open worlds may never feel the same again. But we'll just have to play it ourselves to find out. So that's about it from my side. What do you guys think about Crimson Desert? Is this hype or the future of open world design? Let me know in the comments down below. And hey, if you like this video, click like, share, subscribe to watch more videos like this one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay sober.